Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. I'm going to demonstrate how to make this really pretty holiday table runner. I used novelty fabrics in this. So those little squares are Santas trying to ski down the slopes, and then surrounding the squares are novelty fabrics with peppermint candies all over it. This is a really easy quilt block to do, great project for beginners, so let's get started. I have 4 of these blocks with Santa trying to go snow skiing, and it's surrounded by all of this candy. The binding is this deep, rich red with little white dots all over it. So it's just really a very whimsical table runner. Now, before I get to talking to you about the instructions, I want to go over and identify all the different pieces of fabric that's in here so that it's easier for you to follow my directions. This fabric here with the Santas is called fabric A. On each side is called B. And then the strips that's in between each Santa is C. And then on the end of the runner, each end of the runner is this large piece of fabric that's called D. Let's go on to going over the instructions. Now, if you have a cell phone handy, go ahead and get your cell phone and put this video on pause and take a snapshot of these instructions. Okay, so this is page 1, and then this is page 2, and then this is page 3, and now last is page 4. Now you have everything in your phone so that when you go to the fabric store, you've got all of the information with you that you need. All right, so let's go over the cutting. Now, if you're not sure how to cut out your fabric for a quilt project, then watch my video, Tips for Cutting Quilt Fabric. All right, fabric A, that's where my Santa was. You need 4 squares, 8.5 inches. And then the B, C, and D fabric was the peppermint candy. You're going to need 8 of B, 4.5 by 8.5. And then on C, you're going to need 3, 4.5 by 16.5. And then for fabric D, you're going to need 2 pieces, 8 1/4 by 16.5. Then you'll need 4 strips of binding, 2 3/4 inches wide. And if you're not sure how to cut out your binding, watch the video, Straight Grain Binding. Then you're going to need 2 more pieces of fabric. This is for the bottom of the runner, 18.5 by 62 inches. And then cotton batting, also 18.5 by 62. These 2 pieces are a little oversized from what your top fabric is going to be like. Okay? All right. Now, the next thing I want you to do is after you've cut everything out, you're going to take your A blocks, that's where I had my Santa, take 2 of the B strips and lay them on top. And then line them up on the edges here, pin and stitch 1/4 inch on each one. Then press on this side, that's the wrong side, and then fold it over, press again on the right side. Now your next step, and I'm going to go over this is on page 2. The next step is that I have 9 rows here, and this is the order that all of the fabric is going to go in case you want to know what that's for. So let's look at how I've laid mine out. Here is the end piece of fabric. Now remember, I'm making a miniature size one because it's easier to show on camera. So this would be my D fabric. This is my BAB block. Then I've laid out a strip of C, another BAB block, a C, a BAB, and all the way down to the end of the runner. So just follow the instructions on that sheet of paper. Then after you've got everything lined up, because now you know what order everything goes in and you won't get confused later. So now you're going to take your end piece of fabric, that was the D piece, and lay it over your BAB block, your Santa. Pin and stitch and do a 1/4 inch seam. Then press it, fold it over, and press again. Then take your C strip, put it on top there on the other edge, pin and stitch, press, and again press. Then take your next Santa block, put it on top of C, pin and stitch a 1/4 inch seam, press it, fold it over, and press again. Go down the full length of the runner. All right, now you're going to layer everything. You're going to take your backing fabric. I'm just using some plain cream fabric, but if you're putting a printed fabric on the back, the print side would be down away from you and wrong side would be up. Then your cotton batting, then your top piece of fabric. Okay, now you'll notice that my cotton batting and cotton fabric or backing fabric is larger. It's supposed to be that way. So center this top piece on it. So those edges will be hanging out. All right, then you're going to prepare for top stitching. Now, you can either pin or baste all of these layers together. Now, if you're going to pin, you can either use straight pins like this or quilting safety pins. You can also do a hand baste, and if you're going to do that, do at least 4 or 5 rows, large hand basted stitches in and out down the full length of the runner. Now I'm just going to pin it for now, and if you're going to do the pinning, just spread your pins out throughout the runner. And then you're going to go into your sewing machine and you're going to do the quilting stitches, but make sure you put your walking foot on it. It will be a lot easier doing these quilting stitches with a walking foot. You can do it with a regular foot, but I highly recommend you get one of these. You're going to start in this corner and go in a few inches, and you're going to do a row of stitches at a 45-degree angle. So let me show you what it looks like on this scrap fabric here. I've used a decorative stitch. You can use a straight stitch. So come in, do your first row, go over 2 or 3 more inches, do another row, and keep going down the full length of the runner. Then when you're done, you're going to go over to this corner and do the same thing, going in from this corner. Here's another sample. Do a row of stitches, move in a few inches, do another row, and go down the full length of the runner. And if you have a straight stitch, this is what it will look like. After you've done your quilting stitches, you need to trim the edges off. And what I mean by edges, the backing and cotton batting fabric is now going to be trimmed off. Sometimes during the quilting process, the edges get jagged and the fabric begins to fray a little bit. So we want nice smooth edges before we put our binding strips on. So you're going to take your, preferably a long ruler like this, line it up on the top fabric, that raw edge of the top fabric. Line it up, and then you're going to take your rotary cutter and you're going to press firmly down and begin to cut those edges. And when your rotary cutter gets to where the tips of your fingers are, lift your hand and continue cutting. Go all the way around all 4 sides. Okay, after you've trimmed your edges and they look nice and pretty, you're going to pin on the binding strips. But before we pin them on, you're going to take your binding strips and stitch the ends together. Okay, do a 1/4 inch seam, press it open, and then fold it in half and press the full length of the strip. and then it's ready to be pinned on. So let me show you how to do that. You're going to take one of the ends of the binding and put it in the center of one of the ends of the runner. And then you're going to line up the raw edge of the binding against the raw edge of the runner itself. And then begin pinning it down. Then after you've pinned it down, you're going to go over about 4 inches from this end and begin stitching 3/8 of an inch seam from this raw edge. Go in 3/8 and stitch. And when you get to be 3/8 of an inch away from this raw edge, stop, leave your needle down, press your foot up, turn the table runner, and stitch right into that corner at a 45-degree angle. Then take it out of your machine and fold your binding strip straight out this way to where it's in a line with this edge. Don't pull it this way or that way. It will not come out right. Then press down here, fold it over, line up this folded edge there along that raw edge, and then the raw edge along here, and pin it down. You're going to pin it down the full length, and then you're going to start on this folded edge here, 3/8 of an inch from here, and stitch all the way down the next side. And every time you come to a corner, do this. Stitch all the way around. Now, when you come to where your 2 ends are coming together, 2 ends of the binding, you're going to overlap by a 1/2 inch your binding ends. Then you're going to cut the excess off. Then the next step will be is to bring these ends together. Whoops, let me open it up. There we go. Open it up. Bring the other end right side on top. Well, I can't seem to get it open. But anyway, you'll understand. Right sides together. Then pin it. Do your 1/4 inch seam. Now your ends are together. Fold it and pin it down and do your 3/8 of an inch seam, finishing off that last edge. Okay, just a couple of more steps. You're almost done. Now turn it over onto the back. Fold your binding over to where it's coming over onto the back, and you're going to pin on the back of your runner. Start in one corner. Take this folded edge past this stitch line. Fold it over and pin. Then go to the other side. Fold it over and pin. Then, to get rid of this little bump, let me turn this a little bit. You're going to press down. Whoops, I lost my pin. You're going to press down and in, fold it over, and then pin. And you have a nice little mitered corner there. Pin your binding all the way around and do this on every corner. Then you have just one more step and then you'll be done. And that is stitch in the ditch. And that's where 2 pieces of fabric come together. You're going to stitch on the peppermint candy right next to this binding, but don't stitch on the binding. So start down here in one corner and stitch across. Go slow. And stop at the next corner, leave your needle down, press your foot up, turn the table runner, and begin stitching down the next side. Do that all the way around, and when you're done, you have a really cute, whimsical table runner. Now, supposing you don't want it to be whimsical, you want it to be more sophisticated. Well, here is the same pattern with different fabric. I've selected poinsettia fabric in the squares, green to go around it, and there's little fine gold glitter all over that green. And then on the binding, I've used the same poinsettia fabric. And then in the ends of it, I have put on this beautiful bead trim. It was a little tricky to put on, but it really added a lot. And my daughter is going to get this one. She told me, Mom, I don't have a Christmas table runner, so I've made this for her. For other table runner projects, check below your YouTube screen for the video links. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and be sure and check out my Facebook page. Thanks for watching and happy sewing! I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the bell so you can receive notifications about my latest videos. I'm Cheryl, and this is Scotty, and this is Manny. See you next time, and happy sewing!